Hey, it's Patti Scharf, CPA and co-founder of Catching Clouds, the leader in e-commerce accounting. And today we are going to talk about accounting stuff. Yay! We're going to talk about cash versus accrual method of accounting. I know it seems kind of boring, but it's really important that you understand this, and I can tell you really easily the difference between the two. So let's get started. Cash method. So there are two different methods of accounting. One is cash basis, the other is accrual. Cash basis is what everybody starts on. It's the training wheels of accounting. Basically, you spend some money and you record it, or you receive money and you record it. So it's just like it says. Cash basis means that cash goes out, cash comes in, and that's when you record things. Okay? Accrual basis is a little bit more sophisticated. It's used for businesses who really want to manage their finances and understand the seasonal flows of the money that's coming in and out based on when the activity is occurring and not necessarily when something is getting paid, either to yourself or to a vendor or something like that. So for accrual basis, you want to record the income when it's earned. So when you've actually shipped the product that you've sold. And for expense, on the expenses side of things, you want to record an expense when that service is provided. One more thing I want to point out is whether you report your income and expenses on cash basis or accrual basis, that is determined when you file your first tax return. So on page 2 or 3 or somewhere in there, it'll ask you your method of accounting. If you check the box that says cash, then you need to be reporting on cash basis. If you check the box that says accrual, you need to be reporting on accrual basis. This becomes important if you're planning on having a big company or even just a mid-sized company, even bigger, small company. Once you have, on average, I think $1 million of revenue consistently for 3 years, you need to report using the accrual basis. It's required by the IRS for an inventory business to do that. Actually, check with your tax preparer. This is the information I know as of the time that I'm recording this video. But so if you're planning on being a bigger business, if you want to have a business that will supplement your existing income, it might be small enough for cash basis, but if you want a business that's going to replace your job and become your full-time job, then you really should be recording based on accrual, and you should know all those rules. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's talk about insurance. I think this is a perfect example. It happens all the time. Insurance companies are notorious for some strange billing methods. They'll charge you like 4 months at a time, and it's all kinds of funky. So let's say you pay $600 for insurance that's going to cover 3 months. We're going to pay it in December, and it's going to cover the period from February through April. So you pay using the cash basis. If you pay it in December, that's when it gets recorded. So you'll see this actually falls on last year's tax return, not on this year's tax return. So it may look a little bizarre because you're going through the year, you have insurance, but you have no insurance expense on your books. Looks kind of weird. Accrual basis is different. They're going to expense that through the months that the expense actually applies to, right? Now, you might be asking, okay, if I'm not recording expense in December, and so that's zero, like what happens to that payment of $600 that just came out of my account? What do you do with it? What you do is you have an account called a prepaid expense. So prepaid insurance, you might have something like prepaid inventory, prepaid rent, any kind of prepaid. That's actually not an expense, even though they call it a prepaid expense. It's an asset and it belongs on your balance sheet. So if you're keeping track of your books and you don't have a balance sheet, you can't really keep track of your stuff on accrual basis. It just gets way too complicated. So anyway, so you've got $600 in this prepaid expense account, prepaid insurance. Then in January, nothing happens because the insurance covers from February till April. So nothing changes hands, nothing's any different. Then in February, you're going to expense $200 of it. It's going to reduce your prepaid expense by $400. So all you're doing is you're reclassifying it from this bucket, moving that $200 over to your profit and loss statement as an expense. Same thing in March, same thing in April, and you'll see at the end of this period of time, there's no difference in the amount of cash that was spent. There was $600 paid for insurance no matter which way you slice it. But using the cash method, it gets reported in December, and using the accrual method, it gets expensed over time. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Here's a bonus tip for you. Here's some of the things that I commonly see overlooked when somebody says that they're reporting on an accrual basis, but they're not actually paying attention to this. They're recording prepayments to suppliers. They're recording that maybe as cost of goods sold or directly to inventory, when really it's just a deposit that's been paid, but there's no actual, the products that you've ordered haven't been supplied to you yet. Okay. Other examples: rent. Some people, they'll pay on the 1st and then they'll pay the 31st for the following month, and so you'll see a double up in one month and nothing the next month. So that's something to look out for. Insurance, we just talked about. Payroll expenses and payroll taxes. If you're using a system where you're recording your expenses as you cut the check to the IRS, that's probably not going to be adhering to accrual basis. Cost of goods sold and sales, I think, are kind of tricky to keep track of, and I'm going to have other videos on those, but suffice it to say that those are common areas where accrual basis gets a little bit trickier when you're keeping track of the accounting. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, like, comment, share, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and I'll catch you next time.